Let's see. Going live, music's on. And we have a model right here. Cool. That's also an immediate autosave. I hope that won't affect the stream too much. Cool. So, welcome everyone. Today's a new week. And here we are looking at the result of Marmoset toolbag that being, and I went ahead and I set up the scene so it bakes properly. This is what it looks like. Currently, all of the information of the high poly has been transferred to the low poly. Look at this. It looks detailed, but if we turn on the wireframe, we can see it is not the high poly. All of this is low poly. Over here we can see, so these would be, Scar, welcome on in, thank you. So over here we can see the chain links that have been used to bake the normals and soon to be utility maps. We are not baking every link, there's going to be repeating elements in there. The shin and the gauntlet skull have been baked in character space rather than world space. This also has to do with utility maps. And for a couple of eagle-eyed individuals. What platform or use case are you making it? This is just going to be a portfolio piece. This will not be in an actual game, though, to showcase skill. All of this is made completely for a... like, theoretically, this character could go into a game. I believe if... Hang on, let's hop over to Maya. If we grab everything, make sure we don't have any duplicates. We are sitting at a poly count of 66,000 triangles. So theoretically, this character can work in VR chat. I was wondering if avatars are such. So at the beginning of the project, I did tell myself, hey, I would like to have this be underneath 70,000 because that is like a reasonable guideline. Maybe a bit arbitrary, but I wanted to have that as a goal. So on 66,000, I think I've nailed it. Okay. Where was my train of thought? Right. So, again, I wanted to... This project has been live streamed from the very start, which is starting as a sphere in ZBrush and then going through all of the steps to like show people how 3D models are made. And this is the one time where I did several steps or one big step offline, which is... This is how Marmoset works. Exporting everything, putting it in a group, and then have the low poly receive information from the high poly. Mainly because this took me several hours and I do not believe it's high quality streaming content to just watch files getting imported, baked, and then go on to the next page, get everything baked. So I did the majority. The last thing that still needs to be done is the guitar, and that I will be showing on stream because hopefully that one will be over in a reasonable time. Hey HTMZ, welcome on in. So yeah. For people who are new and may not know what this step is, this is what we call the baking process. Because currently we have two models. We have a high poly that we made in ZBrush that has all of the sculpted detail that we want. However, that thing is also several million polygons and would never run on a console or a PC or any game in real time. It is simply far too heavy. So that is this model. ZBrush. Hello, ZBrush, please. Oh. Okay, thank you. There we go, now it should be visible. Thank you, OBS, for swapping some settings around. So this is the high poly model in mini ZBrush, and then here in the top right we can see this entire thing is 99 million polygons. Good luck getting that to run real time in anything. So for that we built a second model, and that is the one that you see over here in Maya. Now the problem is, this is the geometry level, and we do not have any of the sculpted detail on it that we worked so hard to get in ZBrush. So now with baking, we are going to transfer information from the high poly to the low poly, and that's when you end up with things like this, where this is the low poly, but thanks to things called normal maps, we can see that there's a lot more information being projected on the model thanks to pixel information. So that's how we make the low poly look more detailed than what it really is. It's all smoke and mirrors. I'd like to watch how you use Blender and have no real experience with ZBrush or Maya. Okay, that's fine. Maya is quite similar to Blender in terms of which steps are being used to create the low poly, and you will end up with a similar result. Like, it's all about creating a geometry model that has far fewer polygons and can hold texture information from the high poly. Sculpting steps is in ZBrush. Yeah, I did the high poly in ZBrush. You can't do the low poly that good in ZBrush. There are retopology tools inside ZBrush. I believe in the 2026 release they made even more tools available for retopology inside ZBrush. However, in my experience, it's easier to do in other programs. ZBrush is not built with retopology in mind. In Maya or in Blender, you can select a piece of geometry, turn it into a live surface or a magnetic piece of geometry, and whatever topology that you will create gets magnetized towards it. You are drawing new topology directly on top of it. That is a specific tool that is built inside of those programs. To my knowledge, ZBrush has something that is similar, but not quite there yet. So thank you very much for the follow, Artiscar. So theoretically it is possible. Theoretically, you could create an entire high poly inside Maya as well by using like smoothing and just creating extremely dense meshes and modeling in all of the high poly details. However, at some point Maya is going to complain of, hey, I have 99 million polygons in my scene. I'm not made for this. I am now going to start giving errors and slowing down a lot. So it's not like a core intention of the software. Whereas ZBrush is made to like be able to handle millions and millions of polygons without an issue because it's all fake 2.5D. So every software has like its strengths and weaknesses. By combining them all together, we create magic. This is how you end up with something like this, where it's like, this is the combined effort of ZBrush, Maya, and now Marmoset, and soon to be Substance Painter. So this is the result of 3 programs. Line of thinking. So, yes, I did some things offline for this project. So, because again, it took several hours to set this up. But for people who have seen my previous streams, literally all you do is we go to this body, it has significantly fewer groups. Let me turn a lot of them off and on. So this is the body group. And inside here is a high poly and a low poly group. In the low poly group is literally just this. It is the body. Now in the high poly, we have all of these high sculpted detail exports that I all exported from ZBrush individually. Gave them proper naming so I know what is what. Put them in the high group. And everything that's in that high group is going to get imported into the low. If I were to turn off the low and turn on the high, you can see all of these items and they're all individual. And everything that's in this group is going to get baked to whatever geometry is in the low poly. So we're transferring information from high to low. Hi Unit, welcome on in. So that is the theory. For people who have watched previous streams, you've seen me do test bakes, in which I again picked a high poly and a low poly, and just looked if it had enough geometry and UV space to hold that shape. That little cycle of a high poly, a low poly, and a bake, I just repeated that for every element that is in this character. So we have things like the shin guard, or rather, let's grab the teeth for example, because the teeth are an example of, I did not want to have information from one tooth be projected onto another, so I made individual groups for them. All of these teeth are on individual groups, so for example, information from one tooth, like the canine, does not get projected onto a molar or this other incisor at the front. These are all split groups. That is the strength of Marmoset Toolbag. So it's tedious. This also took me a few hours to set up, but as a result, I have extremely clean bakes because I don't have any aberrant information of one tooth being projected onto a neighboring tooth, for example, because that's when you get like projection errors and it doesn't look good. I did that for everything, and then because we're using two groups, also did it for the accessories. And again, in here, you can see all of these groups. The tedious part was getting all of the fur tufts to be separate, so we don't have fur from one being projected to another, because they'll probably move a little bit. And that's when you start noticing errors. Eating Hawaiian pizza. Hey there, welcome on in. So it's tedious, but you get some really clean bake results for it in return. The list just looks intimidating, but it's a very simple cycle. Eyes. Make sure that these materials are... This one set to 90. Okay, so some other geometry changes that I made. For example, I noticed I missed a few items, such as these little stray hairs. Down here, I missed a couple of studs on the shin guard straps. On the shin guards themselves, I forgot these spikes, so I also quickly put them in the low poly. These are just a couple of... It's nothing new. It's just things that I missed, which is... It's human to miss things. It's just, okay, preferably you don't do that in production cycle. But this is also where, when you're working as a team and you have weekly evaluations, people with fresh eyes will look at it and go like, hey, I'm missing objects here, or why is this now missing? Everything else should be there. Yeah, and we learn from mistakes. So now that I've made these mistakes, odds are I will not be making them again in future projects. So I'm very happy with this result. So let me now go to Maya and the last thing we need to do is the guitar. We first put it back in its original position, because again, we are transferring pixel information from one object to another. Rule number 1, they have to align in world space, because we are projecting information from one to another by raycasting. If the objects are misaligning, that is going to be immediately noticeable. Okay, so this is what we did in the previous session, last week's stream. Here we have our UVs, however, they are currently not in legal space of 0 to 1. They are in the cell above it, so we can't have that. So first things that we're going to do is make sure that it's back in legal space. We're going to transform and knock it down 1. Just make sure it's centered. Okay. Now on the inside, we can see that we have the wire tighteners, we have the guitar body itself, we have the bolts at the top, the skull, and the strings. So we'll just go by them one by one. I'll choose the biggest item first, so that will be the guitar. You won't be able to see all of this on stream because OBS isn't capturing all windows. I'm just going to make an OBJ export of this, and I'll just call it guitar body low. Make a new group for this so it's a little bit easier. Through the guitar body low, and we'll just go one by one so it's not confusing to watch. We go back to Marmoset, we create a new baking group, and we just call this one guitar group, and it immediately made a baking group, and we'll just call this guitar body group. This button, we import. Where is it? Alright. So this is the low poly. We just imported it and there's nothing on it. One thing that I do need to make sure, we go back to Maya because this is a little technical thing. I do have to make sure that all of these have the same material. So if we go to attributes, we can see that currently it still has UV checker patterns material. This is not correct for later on. I'm going to give it a new material. New Lambert, and I'll just call it guitar underscore material. Bump one up, and I'll call this one guitar shading group underscore SG. This is important later on for Substance Painter, because this is how it identifies different materials and how to set up. How do I phrase this? This is how Substance Painter later on will see, okay, these are objects and they are in the body shader group. And these accessories are part of the accessory shading group. Hey Pesky, welcome on in. Okay, so for now, just it's important to give things proper materials. So again, I'll have to re-export this. Yes, re-export. Go back to Marmoset. We can see it. And so here we have guitar body underscore low, and I'll just drag this into the low poly group. Now we're going to need some high poly so we can bake information from one to another. For that, we go to ZBrush. In ZBrush, we have the other piece of the puzzle that we need. These items are enabled. Okay. Not need. Okay. So this is the guitar. This is the high poly. As you can see, there's like some smoothing. There's a chip in there. Just finish your drawing. Yay, nice. And now you go nap. Go take a good nap, Jonut. Go recover from the art. Okay. And as we can see, the body consists out of multiple items. Because these are all individual subtools that combined create the shape of the guitar. I'm gonna take a look at it. So here we have the body. It's a million polygons. So that's 2 million triangles. That's too much. I don't want that. That's going to slow down my workstation. Especially now that we're streaming. Please let me know if things are slowing down on stream, because this is whenever I have to bake, it has to calculate, which draws resources from my computer, and that might blow up stream. So please let me know if there's any technical issues. Okay, so I do not want to load in something that's 2 million. What I am going to do is hit Decimation Master. I'm going to tell it to calculate the surface area. So it only looks at whatever is on the surface. This one took 7 seconds. And then we say, okay, reduce it to 20% of its original. So we go from 1 million to 200,000, which is a lot more acceptable. And as you can see, the silhouette did not change. If I turn on the wireframe, now you can see that it definitely did change, especially if I go from history. So again, this is one of those tools that ZBrush has specifically made. It is a remesh of a sort, but it also has one major rule. Do not change the silhouette. Do not change the surface information. A little bit of faceting, and I don't like that, so I'm going to redo this. This is going to show up. So I'll just subdivide it one more time. It's still there. Okay. Okay. Do it. Copy. Get rid of this one. Paste. So now we have a 4 million. We have a 4 million polygon subtool, which is far too heavy. To analyze, because there's more polygons, this takes a little bit more. Okay. It's calculating. I think, yeah, so this 1 million, 7 seconds. 4 million, 40 seconds. I hope it becomes very apparent as to why I wanted to do the majority of this off stream, because this is going to be a lot of baking and waiting. All right, 400,000. Yes, I'll accept that. Export this, assets, to our body, and we'll call this one high. All right, back to Marmoset. Import this one. So we now have the high poly. We hide the low poly. So here we have the object. And now we're just going to drag this one into the high group. The way that Marmoset is set up, everything that's in the baking group, going to look at all the geometry that's in the high, and it's going to project that into the low. So if I were to also have to tell it what to bake and where to save it on my computer. So Rather than it being baked.psd, I'm going to tell it to go into the proper file, or rather folder structure. Word of wisdom from someone who's been doing this for 10 years, if not longer now. Please, for the love of God, make sure that your folder structure on your computer is set up properly. You do not want to have random bakes show up somewhere on your C drive, or find textures from different projects into some sort of master folder. Sit down, take some time, set up a folder structure, and make sure that all of your relevant files are in one location on your computer. Trust me, you'll thank yourself if you have to open up a file from like a couple of months ago and then everything's just scattered over a C drive, a D drive, and God knows how many other drives we have on your computer. Let's just call this Hyena Bard guitar. We're going to be saving these as PNGs. For the moment, we'll keep samples at 16 because these are all test bakes. These were 2K maps. Later on, we will increase that, but again, the more samples and the higher resolution, the longer it takes to calculate things. And these aren't final yet, so we're not going to waste time with this. I would like a normal map and an ambient occlusion map. Start. Bottom here. Baking. Alright. Now, for a new material, call this one guitar mat. Apply that to the model. Let me change the color. So you can see, okay, this material is now applied to this one. Set it back to white, or not perfect white. I tend to set it to slightly off-white. I'm gonna give it a normal map. So that is Hyena Bard underscore guitar. We have an ambient occlusion. Okay. So it's not a lot, but there is a difference. Now we do see that some things are missing, or rather not baking properly. That is because these items are still missing in the high poly. Like this head isn't there, the sharp axe part isn't there. We're missing bolts, and up here at the top we are we're missing elements. So it is doing exactly as it says on the tin. It is trying to reproject as best as it can. However, if there's nothing in the high poly, it's going to be firing rays out into infinity. So, what do we need? We need more high poly assets. So now goes on the body. This part goes in it. 815 is fine. Sacrificing a little bit of performance just to speed things up for the stream. So guitar. It's not low, that is a high. So I'll just export these things without decimating them, unless they have like an obscene amount of poly count. Everything that's underneath 1 million, I'll be willing to accept it. Okay, what else do we have? We have the... Okay, this thing is 3 million. We decimate that. Again, copy, paste it here, tell it to preprocess current. In the meantime, we go to Marmoset. We'll just import the things that we already have. Okay, so that's 2 more items. We'll just put them in the high poly map. And as it rebakes automatically, you can see that new pixel information is being added. Now we can see that things are starting to line up a little bit better. Down here. The ZBrush did it. Yep, it finished calculating. So we decimate to percent. What's that give us? 600,000. That's acceptable. Yep. Guitar blade high. What other things are we missing? Yeah, we have these hexabolts. Subdivide one more time. 700,000 is fine. Okay, we have this plate. That is 196. That's fine. We have these string holders. Sometimes the naming convention doesn't have to add up as long as it's clearly identifiable. Let's see. Guitar string. And then we have these things up top. I don't know what they're called. Here, so I'll just give them a logical name. Do not click that button. I'll just call them string pads. Do we have everything? Oh, those things are 4 million. We're absolutely not exporting that. Cool. I'm looking at a gray screen. Wait, okay, fine. It's trying to export something that's 4 million triangles now. This is why we don't. This is why we don't export things over. Hey, Mora. Welcome on in. Alright, so ZBrush is currently chugging. Please let me know if I'm dropping any frames. In the meantime, we go back to Marmoset and we'll just import the things that we already have, which is blade, the hexabolts, blade and string bases. So very, very, very simple. We'll just add more high polys. Add it to the high poly group. All of them are standing in here. I apologize if you hear beeping of a dishwasher in the background. And that is how simple it can get. So we're just adding all of the high poly in the high poly group. The rest is all in the low poly. We bake. And things are looking okay. So now you can see, okay, the normal map is absolutely pulling its weight. Especially on the neck, getting this nice little beveled edge. I'm not quite sure. Let me check one thing in Maya. I want to see if these are hard edges or soft edges. They all look like hard edges to me. So as a test, I'm going to put them in soft edges. Because again, I don't know how many streams ago, I proudly proclaimed to know why certain things have hard edges and some things have soft edges. Over the course of the last few months, I've been proven I've been proven wrong time and time again. So we're back to testing. All of this is now on soft edges. Body re-export, yes. Go back to Marmoset. Bake. appears to be a little bit smoother. But we also get small little issues in areas such as this, because these are quite significant angles. I'll have to find a way, rather I'll have to figure out why this happens. But from a distance, it looks good. One thing that I also need to do for myself is keep more in mind of it. In the render, it's going to be this big. There are not going to be any extreme close-up shots such as this. Like at best, it's going to be roughly this big for like presentation renders. So as long as it looks good from this distance, we're fine. And spoilers, there are plenty of mistakes in this project. I'm just really good at hiding them. Okay. Let me see if ZBrush... Okay, ZBrush has exported something. So we are not exporting something that is 4 million, so these things are going to be decimated as well. Okay, that's going to take some time. We have nothing else at the moment. That's incorrect. I can just work on something else in Maya. So, okay, the guitar body. We have all the elements. We go on to the next area, which is the wire tighteners. Again, these things have hard edges. I'll smooth them out because I'm certain on hard edges versus soft edges now, so I'm going to choose the thing that works, which is soft edges. Just export these. Popsyox, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome on in. How are you doing? Okay. I hear my computer not blowing anymore, so that is no longer calculating, and we decimate down to 800,000. How about you give me 500 instead? These are literally cylinders. These. Okay. Good, you enjoy watching modelers? Then you have come to the right stream. Currently we're going through a technical step of... Currently we're going through the technical step of setting up baking groups inside of Marmoset. And getting all of that to work. So we're transferring high poly to low poly right now. Looking at this shading. So again, this is probably happening because there's such a sharp point in that tip. Adjust that slightly. I don't think so. I'll get to that in a bit. I may have a fix for it. Okay. So in Maya, we exported these elements. I'll just go ahead and export the other bolts as well for now. And we do not need high polys there. Guitar, bolts, low. And the strings are going to be... Okay, so here's something that occasionally happens. In ZBrush, we made these, we made the guitar, but we also do not have the original strings anymore. Like we adjusted these in Maya. So this high poly no longer lines up. So those strings are going to require a little bit of a different setup. Hey Labcode, welcome on in. We tuned the strings. Yeah, we changed the strings slightly because this high poly wasn't working. So I made them slightly different in Maya. Or rather, I will do that in a bit. I'm also seeing some faceting. I don't want that. I basically never want to see these type of hard edges because these are polygonal edges and we don't want that. So I'm just going to subdivide this a couple of times till it's gone. Okay. Again, little trick for people who may be new. Crease level. Creasing is telling a software, do not smooth this edge until we've hit this amount of subdivisions. If I set this one to subdivision level 3, and I'll delete subdivision level 3. If I divide, we're on 3, nothing happens. If I divide one more time, it's very, very mild. But now it's slightly let go of that edge, but it's negligible. What I like to do is set it to crease level 2. Now when I subdivide, you see it bevels itself and you get a really nice clean edge. Okay. Now I'm doing multiple things at the same time, which may or may not be a good idea. So tighteners, these are high. These bolts. Need to go in high. What was the last thing that we were working on? All right, the strings. All right, but first let's. Okay, so we have the guitar body, and so again, this is one of the strengths inside Marmoset. You can very easily set up your baking groups. So for example, the elements up top here, those tuning strings and the anchor points, I do not want that to be baked on top of the body. I'm going to make a new group. Just call these tuning pins. And I'll make another group. Call that one, what do we call this? Like wire anchors. Oh, what's up? Hey, thank you very much for the resubscribe. 2 months. Thank you. Also to keep consistent. So these are wire tighteners. This one. And we have the head bolts. Okay, and now we'll just, again, very easily, high poly goes into high poly, low poly goes into low poly. Now these get added. Let me make sure that the material also gets added. And now you can see that if I were to turn these off, the bolts. Okay, I'm glad that this happened. The normal did not get baked. The ambient occlusion did, ever so slightly. So, even though they are in different groups, they are affecting one another. That is because the ambient occlusion is being told to take everything in the world scene into consideration whenever we are baking our utility maps. That can be changed over here. If we go to the bottom, ambient occlusion, and we tell it to ignore groups. Now it is only going to look at whatever geometry is inside its own group for ambient occlusion. If I turn this off again, you can see that same with the bolts here up top. These upper bolts are getting a little bit of shadow from hanging underneath this element. It is a very minor difference. There is a reason for this one. If it's a static object such as this, you may want to indeed have like ambient occlusion from one element going on to another. If these bolts are indeed never going to move, then it's nice that there's like a little bit of extra shadow around it. However, if you have a moving object or things that stretch and bend and slide around, and you have baked shadows in there, then it's immediately going to break the illusion. For example, if this is some sort of wacky cartoony guitar where things are going to stretch and things are going to transform. So if I were to move the Y value, the geometry moves, but the texture remains the same. And then the illusion breaks. So what I like to do is have the ambient occlusion be in its own group only. If there is extra ambient occlusion that I want in my geometry or in my model, I would like to do that by hand and more artisanal inside Substance Painter. Cool. We have a little bit of ambient occlusion. It's neat. This is working, and now we need the strings because everything else is working out. Oh wait, and we need that damn skull. So, but strings first. Close these up. Also, if I'm confusing to anyone in chat, please speak up, because I'm trying to go through this in rapid tempo. If you have any questions about this, because this is a very technical level or technical step, please let me know. That's a very cute emote unit. Alright, back to Maya, because again, we were talking about the strings, because we made a geometry change. So we can export the lows as a low. So we'll just hit guitar strings. Low. I do need to give these soft edges. Re-export. Now I basically just need to make a new high poly. So what can I do? Make sure that these are not low. Take this one out of the group and call this guitar strings. High. Give this some. First off, I'm going to make a multi-cut here. And then a little fence so that this doesn't sneak down. And I'll also place one here. Over here down at the bottom. I'll also make another cut here. So these are fences. Now if I had 3. These are going to be okay. And I'll just export them without doing smoothing. Export selection, guitar strings, high. So I'm not committing to this. I'm not actually subdividing them. I'll use a little trick inside Marmoset. So we make a new group. Call these guitar strings. See if I can pronounce this name. Safe Gevilp. Thank you very much for the follow. Let's see. So, again, we are going to import our strings. Let's call you safe. Alright, will do. note, because then your username also changes on my screen. Cool. We're from Thailand. Nice. I've been there once. Beautiful country. Okay. So we have the strings that we put in high and the strings that we put in low. And then let me hide the lows, reveal the highs, turn these off for a moment. So you can see that these are still angular. We could theoretically use this to... Hey, the Rhinator, welcome on in. So we could absolutely use this one to bake our normals. One neat little trick that you can do is you can also do a subdivision inside Marmoset by means of things like Cathclark smoothing. And yeah, this is something that I also like to do from time to time. Was that a correct sentence? It's something I like to do from time to time. So here we have a high poly that is being smoothed down. It's really nice to have this feature inside Marmoset as well. Occasionally you will have objects that are a little bit too angular and you're like, oh, what if I only had one extra subdivision? You can just, rather than going back to ZBrush, do it there and then re-export, you can just do a subdivide in Marmoset itself. Okay, make sure that the guitar material is applied here. It's negligent, but also this has to be done for the other utility maps that are going to be in here later on. These again. Let's see any weird aberrants. Now up here, it is just a simple loop around, but it does look like they are connected. So that's neat. All right. Skull is going to be the last thing. After that, we should be done with setting up this guitar, and then everything that I've been doing here is what I've been doing for the entire Hyena character. So, however, this is all being done in little under an hour, hopefully, asterisks. The entire Hyena model took me a couple of hours of just importing, exporting, and it doesn't make for the most exciting Twitch stream. Okay, last part, so we kick back over to ZBrush to fetch the high poly. So, let's see, I need a skull, that is 1.2 million, a little bit too high. So copy, paste, decimate. Rather, we calculate the skull first, after that we decimate it. Cool. 3%. However, he misses his teeth, so we're gonna fetch these as well. 700, that's fine. Guitar, skull, teeth, underscore high. Okay, Maya, fetch the low. Okay. Guitar mat. Just making sure that everything is applied. So checking if this thing has proper normals. Because again, I've been making these teeth like this and I'm already getting some weird shadowy information. I've had some issues with this in the past, but we'll see where this goes. Again, we're learning. And then I need guitar, skull, low. Alright. Back to Marmoset. This is being a 3D character artist. You're juggling between 3 software packages. Let's see, guitar. Skull low, skull high, skull teeth high. Open. Guitar group, make a big group. Skull group. We put the highs and lows in the proper folders. Apply the material. These materials nice and clean. And with that, gonna be a little bit of gnarliness happening here in the back. So whenever things like this happen, you can either try to fix it inside Marmoset or whatever substance or Substance Painter, or maybe you're doing this baking in Blender or Maya, because that is also available. Though I think a little bit archaic. It misses a lot of these little quality of life tools, such as being able to adjust the cage on the fly. So over here we can see that this cage, things are popping outside of the cage. So for this group, I'll just increase the cage a little bit. And see if that fixes it a little bit. Little bit. Increase the cage a little bit more. Alright, now it's not entirely gone, but it's no longer noticeable. And also, this is what we're going to be looking at. That technical projection error from this distance is less than a pixel. So, as much as I wish to be a perfectionist, I will not let myself get stuck on these type of things as often. Hey Josie, welcome on in. Yes, this is Marmoset Toolbag. We are currently going over the last bit of baking our normal maps. And this is the guitar, all of the elements added in. So hopefully that was a good demo for everyone. You can do that for an entire character. So create a group, or create a baking group, create subgroups in it, and then just make sure that the proper elements are in the proper folders, and you'll start baking your high poly into your low poly. And to say that's it is a huge understatement, but that is its core. What's the word for it? That is the core nature of it. Like, make sure that things line up, make sure that the rays are being fired from one to another and they hit, and whatever they hit, they write down into pixel information, which then becomes either a normal map or an ambient occlusion map, or something else, because, yeah. Now I can get into the next chapter, which is, the normal map is arguably the most common one, because it allows us to, like, if I go to the body accessories, the amount of information that gets projected from a normal map alone is a lot. So this is the one that most people know. However, there are other maps that you can do, and they are down here. So it is being captured on stream as well. Cool. So there are a couple of maps that I would like for my next step, which is something referred to as utility maps. Normal maps are surface information that's being faked with light. Normal map in object space is where it also it takes, rather than it being world space, it's object space. I'm not quite sure how to explain that one on a too technical level. Why don't I bake in Substance Painter? Because in my opinion, Substance Painter lacks some of the neat tools that I have come to love in Marmoset Toolbag, such as setting up baking groups. That is not to dismiss Substance Painter. Substance Painter has similar tools. However, they are more name-based. Like, rather than baking groups, where you have a lot of customizability and you can, as an artist, drag and drop things, which I'm a big fan of. In Substance Painter, you make groups by naming conventions. So if you have something called body high and body low, if you then start baking, Substance will look at everything that falls into these two naming conventions and have the low and the high suffix attached to them. So then body will only be exported to body, pants will only be exported to pants, hair strand 01 will only be exported to whatever is called hair strand 02 low. I don't like that workflow, so that's why I choose to do Marmoset. It's a lot more intuitive and point and click. Okay, so I want a normal map, I want a normal object, I want a position map. I can bake these as we go. Curvature map. Yeah, curvature maps are, sorry. Position maps literally says what it does, or does what it says on the tin. It allows you to select positions more by using RGB gradients. I'll demonstrate that later. Curvature maps are amazing for things like edgeware because it looks at where things are creased or where things are like solid surfaces or smooth surfaces. I would like a cavity as well, because that is for things such as dirt maps. Like for example here on the shirt where there is a cavity between the shirt and the sleeve and like the armpit. I would like a thickness map, because that is nice for things such as subsurface scattering. And then I would like an ambient occlusion and ambient occlusion 2. And then for the way that I set everything up, I also would like to have an object ID rather than material ID. Materials, we don't need that. Okay, so these are the utility maps that I would like. And all of them have a couple of options. But for the first part, I'm just gonna hit bake. The stream may stutter because this is now like telling my computer to start calculating things. So hold on tight. Start. Baking 7 maps. I'm now cautiously looking at my frames missed counter. Color me surprised. That was not as painful as I thought it would be. Alright, so for the body, let me so for the moment. Accessories. This may cause my computer to... Yeah, any form of baking or rendering detail. Yes, it's the high computer. Please start doing some heavy math. However, we're only doing this on the 2K map with 16 samples at the moment. Yeah, it's always a joy clicking on those things. All right. Normal map, we're not going to disable that. I'm just going to put these in the albino map so that people can see what they do. And I'll give a brief explanation to the best of my ability. So, let's see, what do we have first? We have position map, sure. I should put these in the proper one. So it's body material that I need to be editing. Position map. This is not doing all well. Okay, just add it to the entire group then. Cool. And I will... some of these things. Okay, I'm having a couple of technical difficulties here. First of all, I'm gonna tell it to stop. Okay, I think I know what happened. I accidentally applied the wrong material to a high poly, and now it's going to try and bake high poly on low poly, which is going to cause like an infinite loop. First off, this material, get out of here. This one, show high. Just gonna make sure that there's nothing. All of these things have like the default. I show low. Okay, so cool. Here we have it. This is what I was looking for. Let me pass material value. Cool. So this is a position map. These are gradient maps that are like RGB, and everything from 0 to 1 in those values can be used to determine a position on top of this character. For example, if you want to have like a top-down gradient, you're going to choose these colors, and you can see that they start fading as you go up. God, this one will probably be easier to show inside Substance Painter. But yeah, this is a gradient map effectively, and with gradients you can do all kinds of fun stuff. Alright, next up, curvature. That one should be a little bit more easier to explain. Cavity, AO. I'm trying to go through a lot of files right now. Did not bake a curvature map? Seeing a thickness, I'm seeing position, normal. Cavity, object ID. Sorry. Because Windows doesn't capture everything. I need to clean up a whole bunch of stuff. It's a cavity map. Normal object ID, thickness. Am I dumb again? Oh. It'll probably work. Okay, so I did enable them in this menu, which is to show it, but I didn't actually have the check mark for actually baking it. So, yeah, now it's baking 9 maps. There they are. That makes sense. Where are you? Curvature map. There we go. Again, another utility map, and you can see on things such as these belts where it like highlights the edges. For things like edge wear or like little glowy effects, curvature maps are amazing. Now we go to the opposite one, which is the cavity map. So things of where shirts or like over here in the armpit where we have this hard crease. A little bit of shadow. especially here in the pants, in these cloth folds. Again, these are marker pixel information that we can use to drive generators later on in Substance Painter. Last one would be or rather second to last. Thickness map. Thickness maps are great when using things like subsurface scattering, especially on things like fingers. They are very subtle, but they can help drive again, how do we explain this one? Have you ever held a flashlight underneath your hands and then like had the light shine through your fingers and you see like this really cool effect of where at the edges of your fingers light is bleeding through a lot more? That is subsurface scattering. That is something that you can absolutely get by using a thickness map. Because in the core of your finger, it is thicker. As it goes to the outside, it's thinner. That is what this map can do. So it looks at all of these objects and it looks at the thickness of them. Then based on that, it gives pixel information. Alright, and then the last one. This is a fun one. The ID map. Occasionally also known as a clown map, because it's a very colorful one. These are really nice because they are effectively selection markers. All of these are solid colors, and in programs such as Substance Painter, it is a built-in feature where you can use something like an eyedropper tool to choose this pixel information of this shirt, and it is then going to mask out everything that has that pixel information. So you are going to be able to mask things extremely quickly, rather than try to hand paint the shirt and make sure that the edge lines up. But there is a little bit of haziness on the edges. That's also because we're baking at a 2K resolution with only 16 seconds. These are the files that I want. Okay. Now I'll also have to add those to the others. All of them, right. Ambient occlusion 1 and 2. I already briefly mentioned that one, but I will also demonstrate it. So we have ambient occlusion 1, brother. Sure. This one doesn't ignore groups. Okay. So, group 1. Again, let me get the albedo. You can see, okay, here in the neck, underneath the chin, in the ears, it's all ambient occlusion. This is where natural shadows sit from ambient light being cast around in the world. And all of these objects, because they're in the same group, are affecting each other. Especially things like here, where the belt is affecting a little bit of here on the pants, on the inside of the ring. And these are really nice effects. They really help push the depth of a character. Over here with the teeth, because of the groups, you can see that they are currently being excluded. If I were to go in and get the other ambient occlusion folder, you can see that the teeth now, they do have ambient occlusion from the mouth. Same for the tongue and the gums. However, this may not always be desirable, because currently this mouth, the jaw is slightly open. The tongue is in neutral. When this character begins to talk, and there's like tongue movement and jaw movement, and this, like, there's shadow, too much shadow baked on the inside, it's going to look weird and it's again going to break the illusion. That's why I prefer to have this version, where there is basically no shadow baked on the inside of the teeth and tongue. And just be very careful with it, and if needed, I will paint it in by hand and make sure it's not too... what's the word? That it doesn't break the illusion. So those are all of the utility maps that I would like. Now I'm just going to bake them for all the other groups as well. Can I'm gonna save first, because there's one thing I would like to try, and that is to see if I can copy settings from one to another. Okay. I'm gonna say copy object settings. See if... Did it mess with the name convention? No. So this one didn't get edited, but it did enable all of these at the bottom as well, which is nice. We'll do the same for the eyes. Even though they're just spheres, I want those utility maps because those are going to help me drive some things later on. Is there a way to see past broadcasts? I haven't recorded. I'm trying to upload them to YouTube, but YouTube is being a little bit stupid of, hey, you are trying to upload videos that are 3 hours each. What's up with that? So I'm looking for a solution. I think they want something like a phone number to verify that you're an actual human being rather than some bot account is looking to spam a ludicrous amount of videos. Okay. So yeah, I'm working on it. Okay, so that should be everything. Last look. If anyone sees anything glaringly obviously missing or wrong, please call it out now. I think we're good. I think I've been meticulous enough. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna go for the plunge, and now we're going to render them out with a lot more samples. 32. 4K resolution. Do want the ambient occlusion to have more rays, so let's set that to 512. Floor occlusion is it? I do not want that. There's the ambient occlusion. The more you zoom in, you can kind of see that it's getting a little bit grainy, especially in darker areas. By upping the ray count, this should get less. So let me do quick. I'm gonna do a very quick rebake on the ambient occlusion, just to see what it looks like, if it's worth it. Don't like how that became solid white. Okay, that became solid white. This is where the artist goes quiet. There's a technical error in here somewhere. It's not giving me any of the bakes right now. Hello. The highs are in there. What material do you have? Default, that is correct. So why aren't you working? Very big normals, what happens? There is ambient occlusion. These things, sadly not. Oh wait, I'm stupid. Yeah, because we were looking in the wrong render pass. Yay, the mistake is always behind the one sitting in front of the screen. Okay, so, so we're looking if okay. I'm gonna give ambient occlusion 1 a floor, and I want to see if that adds enough to it. Because that'll give it a bounce. I actually want that on everything. This one, ambient occlusion, floor. Not for the guitar, because the guitar will be oriented differently, so that one does not get floor, but it will get a 512 resolution. Alright, change my mind. Get the floor occlusion out of here. I should not have hit duplicate on that. Now it's going to be duplicating all of the geometry. Please don't crash. Just like very, very gently delete that again. Okay. It's been really coming along. Thank you. Object settings. Paste. 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 So these are the ambient occlusions. These are the ones that I want. Okay, cool. We're pulling the trigger. We're gonna do these on 4K, and we'll do 32 bits of sampling. These are enabled. Right. Position. Yes, that's good. Bounding sphere. Curvature. Strength. Yes, dither. Thickness. I'll give that one a 512 as well. Ambient occlusion 512. Ambient occlusion 512. Object ID. We don't want that to soften. We want crisp edges. Paste. Alright, pulling the trigger. If my stream crashes, new to the channel, what 3D software is this? This is Marmoset Toolbag. We are currently baking high poly to low poly. Watching from a phone, by the way. Nice. Welcome on in. Summer Bad Boy. Nice name. Yeah, we're committing. I saved 32 samples at 4K. Start. I don't... Oh, there we go. I saw myself freezing on stream right there. We missed a couple of frames. Alright, I hope we're back. That was 1 out of 4. Yep. Another one. These things are going surprisingly rapid. Okay. Now for the last one, the guitar. Double check if everything is... And if I'm not happy with these textures, I will just rebake them at a higher resolution later on, off stream. Alright, cool. That should do it. Now we can say goodbye to Marmoset because it has done its job for the moment. And this is where we go back to Maya. Because we have this model, though I do believe I made some adjustments to it. Yes, so these need to get re-added. So Svertoft splits. Find them. Back into the group. Make sure that they have the proper material. Shading group. This thing also needs a proper material. This thing. Body, this is body. Let's change. Let's see. That's starting in 2 minutes. Cool. Oh, wait, I need to make sure that the eyes are also in there. Not a checker pattern anymore. New material, Lambert. We'll call this Hyena Eyes. Shader group. material. Alright. These things have the proper... That's an initial shading group. Let's go into the accessories. These are going to get removed from the group for now. Body. This thing needs guitar material, which everything should already have. Guitar mat, guitar mat, guitar mat, guitar mat. I'm just checking the materials now because this is super important. Alright. Oh, I'm glad I caught this because this is not a legal space. Make sure it's in legal space. These are the eyeballs. I'll have to rebake those. Low, yes. Right. One last trip into arm set. Yep, there it is. Eyes. Okay, because again, even though these are spheres, having little gradient maps such as this, or a position map will help with gaining some of these looks. So they are vital. You can't skimp out on them. Alright, cool. Again, save. Turn off ZBrush because that is also no longer required and it's just hogging resources on my machine. By ZBrush. Alright. Now in Marmoset. Let's check. Also tell it to delete all nodes. This file has gotten dirty. Cool. File, export selection, and this is going to be hopefully the big one. We'll rename this one Hyena Bard texturing 1. Make sure materials are turned on, and I'll just export this as an OPJ. You can see it here, Hyena Bard texturing 01 OPJ. Now, we're going to go over to a new software package. Let's see, because I have to boot this one through Steam, because Steam, okay, for everyone out there who is looking into Substance Painter or Substance Designer, but does not want to give a monthly subscription to Adobe, you can buy perpetual licenses on Steam. They are not cheap, but they are perpetual. So for the longest time, I've always been on Substance Painter 2020. I've never had any good reasons to update to 2025. Yeah, 2025 looked like a step where I could finally jump in. And also there were quite a few avatar creators out there that were making files in 2025. And if you're in 2020, you cannot open those files. Alright. I hope that this is gonna go well. I checked this last night. Hopefully it should capture it. Abracadabra. Abracadabra did not work. Dear OBS. There we go. Ta-da! We have a new substance. We have a new software. This is Marmoset. No. Why do everything Why do all of these software packages start sounding like each other? This is Substance Painter. This is a texturing program that allows you to paint directly on top of your 3D model. This is pretty nifty. I come from a time where you had to paint directly onto flat UVs. Let me tell ya, not as fun as a lot of people think. Alright. Is this going to pop the windows? No, it does not. Alright. I'll try to go through this one as quickly as possible. So we grab our texturing file. Let's see, Hyena Bard. Where did I export it to? Assets, yes. Okay, fine. We'll. There we go. Text resolution, we'll set 4K, normal map format, I believe DirectX, but that's something we can change later on. Let's see. I would like to... change the interface slightly. Import baked maps. Import mesh normals. Nope. Automatic normal map assignation. No. Oh, they just made it into a weird sentence. This is where you put all of them. All right. So, list form. I'm going to need all of these files. These are all the accessories. These are all the bodies. Eyes. We have the guitar. Open, hit OK. Abracadabra, please work. Cool. So here we have a model inside Substance. If you are using Substance for the very first time, odds are your interface is going to look a little bit different. As with, they took a page out of Photoshop's book where every menu can be detached and docked somewhere else, depending on like your preferences. Okay, I'm looking at this and I immediately see, so here we have the guitar, which means, yes, this is the guitar UV set. We go to the accessories, it's there, but there are things missing. There's a gap here. I'm guessing it's in here in shading group. Go to the body, it's here. Oh, we can see that we have an incorrect object with the wrong material. Eye is there and the initial shading group. Okay, so I made some mistakes. I did not have the proper material set up, and that is why this is now happening. So, back to Maya. First and foremost, these things. Okay, accessories. Oh, because these are the split versions. Okay, that makes sense. What else was there in here? Yeah, so that should be these gone. We have the skull. Gauntlet. Okay, so it has body assigned, but it should be accessories. Let me re-export. Substance, was that the only thing? Guitar looks good. That's the skull missing. There. And then this should also vanish. Okay, I wonder if they changed this bug. So project configuration, I'll re-import the geometry, but I do not believe that is going to get rid of the texture sets. Preserve strokes on mesh, no. Be careful, modifying one of these parameters will recompute your channels. I am well aware. Okay. So that all worked. These are now the proper ones, and we see that initial shading group is now completely grayed out. Can I remove this? No, I cannot. Okay. I know some of the quirks of Substance Painter. I know that this thing is really resource heavy, so if it's not in the scene, I don't want it to be in memory. So I'm going to re-import this as a new file. Or like completely new scene. Good. Big maps, yes. I know some of the quirks of this program. They're not that fun. Re-import all of these. Okay, discard this scene. So here we are again. Cool. So we have the guitar, accessories, body, and the eye. All of them are set to 4K and all of them have main shader. That's good. Texture set settings. I don't need to touch this yet. Correction, I do. Because this is where we have our utility maps. If I go to these windows. This is one of my pet peeves with the new version. They changed the libraries, or like the folder structures. So I believe... Textures? Nope. All libraries, your assets. Nope. Project? Alright. Yeah. Okay, so especially if I were to now go to... Resources, auto update. Oh, right here. Give me a list. So here we see them all by names. All of them have suffixes such as ambient occlusion, cavity curve, and these coincide with these channels. We're gonna have to put these up one by one. So guitar first. Set this one into guitar, and now we'll just again plug and play so we make sure that the right ones are in the right channels. ID map, object ID, ambient occlusion, curvature, position, thickness, height. Height is not always needed. Bend normals also not needed. Opacity map also not needed. So as long as we have these top ones, we should be good. Height maps is occasionally used for things such as displacement maps. How do I phrase this? Yeah, they store pixel information on how much a pixel is pushed away from a mid value. That is not relevant for this project, I believe. Otherwise, we can always rebake, re-import, and then re-add them. Right, do the same for the accessories. I believe if you set them as the proper suffixes, it will automatically import them here. I just didn't do that. Because, again, this is not that much effort. However, if you have a character that has like 50 UDEMs, then you do not want to do this one by one. Then you would find a way to automate it. Sure, position. cavity is not in here, but we can always use it as a custom. Last one for the eyes. Spelling mistake. Oh, world space. Thickness map. That should be it. Alright, so can I just lock them underneath? Because I'll be doing a lot of switching between these, so I'd rather these sit in here. We have our texture setting in our layers, and then we always have like the ability to just quickly swap in between these. Cool. Our brush settings are also pretty important, especially these things later on. Cool. Get rid of here, and we'll go back to all libraries. Set this one back to medium. And then materials. Alright, cool. I don't think it's supposed to look like this. So this is probably me putting in the wrong texture set. So these are accessories. Accessories, these are correct. Body. Okay, accidentally put. Okay, so I accidentally put the wrong ones. Alright. Do it one more time. It's always nice when things go wrong live. No, that's not cavity. That should be curvature. I always mix those two up. Position and thickness. Alright, that looks better. Squeeze this a little bit because the majority of things I do want are going to be in this screen. So with F1, F2 and F3 I can cycle between the windows. I'll be primarily working on this one because I like to have like both scenes open at the same time. Squeeze like this a little bit. Alright. First thing that we're going to notice, or rather most people will probably notice, the normals look a bit funky. This is because there are two ways of making or having normals. It's with I literally just had the names on the tip of my tongue. Right, normal map format, DirectX or OpenGL. This is based on whatever engine you would like to present in. The main difference is it flips the green channel. So when you have objects like this that look funky, odds are you wish to swap them, recalculate them, and now it looks good again. Good. Let me do a quick check to see if everything is looking proper. A couple of these indentations in here that I don't like, but I think they're workable. Okay. Going through here, so the ID map looks good. Ambient occlusion looks good. Curvature looks good. Position is on a per mod. It's based per set, so this is also correct. Thickness also looks good. Height, not applicable. Bend normals and opacities. The normals also. Cool. So, everyone, we have arrived at the texturing step. It only took, how long have we been streaming now? Nearly 2 hours. But we're finally done with the technical part. Now we're going back to artistic parts, which is the texturing itself. And texturing is a lot of fun. It is also most probably my weakest point. Whenever I get feedback from other people, especially in recent months from several industry professionals, they all say that my material reads could be stronger, and that when I go stylized, I should go full stylized rather than try to do both things of like, hey, we'll do like a little bit of PBR and a little bit of stylized, because that's it's above me right now. The Leopard Mercenary, you get a little bit of a mixed bag. So with this character, hopefully I can push my texturing skills a little bit further again. Right. I think I want to talk about Substance Painter first a little bit, because Substance Painter is a texturing program and its biggest strength is using non-destructive workflows. So again, this is for people who are new to it. Non-destructive means, okay, how do I? It's one of those concepts where you've been doing it for 10 years, but now you gotta explain it. So, for example, we are texturing a character, we are grabbing our brush, and we would like it to be, okay, I want red, like clown red. I'll create a brush, I'll create a layer texture on it, go over the body, and I'll like, okay, turn off. I'll activate symmetry. Oh, this is bad. Symmetry should be on. Why is this not symmetrical? Man, am I glad I found this before, like, going full at it. I'll finish my explanation, and after that we definitely need to fix this, because we do absolutely want our character to be on the center line, and I think it did something of an offset because the model itself is not fully symmetrical. Cannot imagine. Anyway, let's pretend that this thing is symmetrical and on the world space. You start painting on it. Okay, cool. So we have a character, we have a PvP game, and this one area, or one team is going to be wearing red shirts, the other one is going to be wearing blue shirts. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be really, 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 like, clear. So we have a red shirt now. Cool. Now we also need to get, like, a blue character. Alright, cool. I'm hugely oversimplifying this one. We could either try something of like a hue shift, so add a filter. We will do a filter. Because they changed the interface and suddenly I'm like... All of these icons are different. Why would they do this to me? Add a generator. Where on earth did they put a hue shift? Anyway, okay, cool. So I have to repaint this, but now it needs to be like a blue shirt. Alright, cool. I can create a new layer. Disable this one. I'm gonna paint it as a blue shirt because that's the opposite team. Alright, cool. Art director comes in and says, hey, the blue that we have, far too eye-burning blue. I need you to tone it down by like a significant amount of degree. Alright, cool. This blue shirt, it's painted pixels. But what the art lead actually wants is kind of like more of this type of blue. Alright, cool. I'll have to repaint it again. Now just imagine this being like a lot more intricate, and I actually have to like go over the edges and make sure that this is done properly. I'm painting things and I'm immediately destroying what is underneath it. If I need to make adjustments, I have to repaint all of it because this is all static. One of the biggest strengths of Substance Painter is non-destructive workflows in terms of using fill layers and doing masks. So rather than me painting out this color, then ask my art directors like, hey, is this the right color? It's like, nope, we want it to be a little bit more saturated. Okay. And I have to repaint it again for the third time. This is an obscene amount of time that we're losing in production. Spoilers, don't do this. I can just get rid of these and I'm gonna make a fill layer. I'll call this shirt color. Gonna give it a black mask, and I'm going to again, they changed buttons. Add mask with color selection. Now I'm going to say pick color, pick this shirt, base fill layer. I always like to have like a solid magenta color. Just something eye burning of like, hey, this color needs to be here. Or shouldn't be here. So we have a shirt. This is a mask. Now in here, this is a fill layer, not a paint layer. And on the fill layer, we can choose the color. And we can make it whatever color that we want. So now if the boss says, hey, we need a red shirt. Okay, cool, here's your red shirt. It's too saturated. I need you to tone it down. Alright. Whatever pixel we select here is going to get applied to the entire mask. The art director is like, hey, we now have a third group, and they're all wearing green shirts. Alright, cool. Done. This is non-destructive. This is probably the biggest strength of Substance Painter. For lack of better words, if you're not... You better have a really good reason to not use this workflow in Substance Painter. Fill layers are probably your biggest asset that you can find in Substance Painter. There is time and space for paint layers, but you could also make a fill layer, add a mask, and then add a paint layer to that mask. So whatever you are about to paint, we set this color here, we begin to paint on it. For example, you are doing the exact same thing as making a paint layer, setting your color here, painting over it. This paint layer, destructive, cannot be changed. This fill layer with a mask, non-destructive, can be changed to whatever is needed. Does this make sense? Please raise your hand in chat if this does not make sense. Because this is literally the most powerful thing in Substance, to my knowledge. If anyone can blow my mind with something better in Substance Painter, please let me know now. Cool. I like how people... Yes, thank you for the emote combo. I need to figure out why this symmetry line is not on the middle. Because it is extremely important that thing is actually on the middle. I'm gonna go back to Maya and see if there's like... There shouldn't be... Like, I'm looking at this. This gray line is the center line, and I see that my 3D model is perfectly on the center. And what it could be is that it looks at the bounding box, and it could be that this skull... Oh wait, no, it's this. Okay. This is the reason. This knuckle duster has geometry that is asymmetrical. So it's looking here at the bounding box and we are sitting at a knuckle. Over here, we're sitting on the outside edge of a tip. So, to my knowledge, Substance Painter looks at the bounding box of the imported geometry, not at the actual pivot point. Because if I look here, my pivot point is on the world origin. This thing should not move, but it did. Now, I don't know if I missed an import setting in Substance Painter. I'll save this version. So, save as... Folder, Substance Painter. Call it Hyena Texture 1 or Hyena Texturing 01. Okay. So it's because of this asymmetrical element that we're getting pushed over to the side. I am extremely happy that I find this at the beginning of the project. Because yes, you can re-import your geometry inside Substance Painter. However, it will then also try to recalculate everything. And that is an absolute pain in the ass and will most likely break your file. Okay. Can I change this with the import settings? Re-import mesh. Okay, that did not work. Project configuration. Physical size. No, I do not see anything of like a method of importing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a floor to it. I hope this isn't going to bite me in the ass. Channel, make absolutely certain that this is leveled. We have 90. I'm going to make sure that this is now the widest part, so... Just making sure that this is now going to be... Oh, I also have to make absolutely certain that this... Hey Marin, welcome on in. 8 months. Overslept a bit, but not late for Canyon stream. Yeah, you're not late. If anything, you skipped all of the technical / potentially boring stuff, and now we're running into an issue with Substance. Okay. So this one... give this one material. We'll just call it floor world center data group. Just so we know why this is here. This is not going to be impacting the texturing whatsoever. What selection? Export. What issue came up? Our model being off-center, and that is because it looks at the bounding box, and on one hand it has a knuckle. I keep calling it a knuckle duster, but is it a knuckle duster? Because it's on the back of the hand, not on the knuckles. This thing is asymmetrical, and it pushes it off to the side by like a smidge. I'm going to re-import mesh. It did not re-import it with a new world space, so we're gonna do the fun thing, and we're just gonna do a new object. My silence should be indicative of how much I like Substance Painter. Well, okay. I like it a lot, but also, my god, does this software have quirks that I could just not have. Import maps, yes. We're just gonna have to redo this again. A little bit of time loss, but again, I'm extremely happy that I find this issue now rather than like 5 hours in, for example. Right, 4K maps. I'll immediately set it to OpenGL. Color management should be fine. I'm not gonna touch that. That's new. Physical size. Yeah, it's also fine. Alright. So, yeah, we have it. First things first, I'm absolutely going to check if it's now... Yeah, floor world center, guitar, Hyena Bard, yeah. Hey Hattie, welcome on in. Welcome to the texturing stage of the character. First thing we're going to check, L. Alright. Now it's running perfectly over the center. So that was it. Because we know that this mohawk is sitting perfectly center. We know that this axe is sitting perfectly center. And we can see the red line going directly over it. What is this? Why are these things turning black? Oh wait, that's not black. That's the center line being reprojected, but they're very thin. Okay, cool. We can hide the floor. We're not going to do anything with that. We're going to have to re-link these things. Project. List. Let's do accessories first because they're at the top. It is so easy for me to accidentally put the wrong God, my... Okay, yeah. ID map, there we go. God. Somehow my brain is just actively blocking list information. Thickness, okay, cool. Guitar. Guess I'll do it like this. It's a little bit easier on the brain. Curvature, position. Alright, cool. Okay, one last check. Is everything here? The clipping is supposed to be there. Alright. Cool. So. I dock this one down here as well, just so that everything is... more. I'll have to go back to my 2020 version just to see what I did with the interface. Because it feels slightly off. Like something... Oh god, they're doing this thing. Okay. Well, I'll fix that off stream. We are going to Substance Paint. So, in the layers, one thing that I like to do is just make a base layer check. And I'm gonna make this into an eye burning color. And I just want to make sure that this one... So now I think we can literally copy paste. Yeah, we can. Copy paste, copy paste. Paste. What I like to do is block out all of my solid colors first. So... effectively, everything needs to be not this bubblegum color. Or I think it's bubblegum. Fun fact. I'm colorblind. The red cones don't really work all that well in my eyeballs. So that is another reason why I do genuinely love Substance Painter, is because thanks to the fill layers, it is really easy to adjust colors. So on effectively every project that I've made in the past, I've always asked a friend to just go over my colors again, and then together we adjust some sliders and actually make the colors more cohesive. See, because this character does have lighting information on it, but we're gonna try to make this work. So if I move this here, you all can't see it, but I do, using pure ref. So I would like to just start blocking out the colors. So base diffuse. So this is where I am now just using the eyedropper, and I will grab a color directly from the reference image. If I go to my base color channel, this is now hopefully the correct eye color. If later on it turns out to be too bright, Again, non-destructive. We can just use these sliders to move them up and down. So this is genuinely a reason why I love Substance Painter. Now for the body. Let's see, new fill layer. Turn it into a group. We'll call this skin. Use this base diffuse. So now this is everywhere. But now it's like, okay, this is the skin. It shouldn't be everywhere because there's a shirt, there are belts, there's clothing. It shouldn't be everywhere. So now we add a black mask. Sorry, again, I'm going over concepts that are second nature to me. For those who are not familiar with programs such as Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint, or Substance Painter, or any other type of like graphical, like 2D painting program, masking is where you put literally a mask on top of a layer, and it can have pixel information that goes from white to black. If it's black pixels, that means block it. If it's white pixels, that means let this color go through, or whatever is on this layer. What we do here is we create a black mask. We add a paint layer to it, or normally, but because we have an object color, we have an ID map, I say add mask with color selection. And now the output value is going to be set to 1. And the background is going to be set to black. So whatever I'm going to choose is going to get white pixels, which then means it's going to be activated on this layer. Now, because I chose the color that I know is of the body itself, I click on that. That pixel information now gets added only to that object, to no other things. Like, so not on the shirt, not on the bandages, not on the pants. Doesn't get added anywhere else. So with this, you can start blocking out things real fast. Okay. And we'll just okay. So I'll just do them as I go, because workflow wise, I tend to work from the bottom to the top. So the body first, because that is at the bottom, or like the deepest in, because on top of that you have clothing, you have chains, you have a mask. So that's how I also wish to layer my layers, because Substance Painter is always going to look at the layer stack, and whatever layer is above all the others, that is the pixel information that is going to bleed through. Or bleed through that is the one that is up top, that is what's going to be visible. Call this one shirt. Again, base diffuse. Ask add a color. Get that shirt in. Now with this one, the base color of it is going to be, I'm just going to color pick this. Right. So for example, to drive home the point, shirt is currently above skin. If I were to move this underneath it, oh, okay, bad example because they don't have any overlap. But for example, if this thing did not have a color selection, rather it would just be everywhere. Or is it purple mask? So if this was above it, like we look at the pixel information, it looks at the layers. If it's underneath it, it's not going to show up. If it's above it, it will. Let's see, because I'm looking at the shirt and the gauntlets are also a similar color. Or at least I hope they are. Shirt. Well, let's call it cloth. Looking at this. This is. I'll just call it blue cloth. Because again, for my eyeballs, this is blue. If someone goes up and is like, well, actually, that's more of a cyan, I'll believe you. I have issues legitimately seeing these colors. So if someone later on goes like, hey, rather than blue, call it cyan, it's more descriptive. All right, cool. I want this one added. This one added. The other elements of this color. Don't think so. All right, cool. And this is now how we're just going to go through the entire thing. Next up, I'll do the pants. Oh, pants and belts. There is a tolerance if I set this one to 01, because over here you can see that we're getting some items on our mask that we don't want because the tolerance level is too high. So setting this one to 0.01, we don't get any accidental shifts. Not to get a shadowy area. So looking at this one also is like, yeah, we can immediately see some things go back to that eye burning color. This one's all 0.01. Alright, what's next? We just turn this off. Belts. So I said that this was going to be more artistic. It is still a technical setup. Later on we will be doing more artistry painting, but for now I want to get all of my base diffuse set up. So these belts. I believe that these belts at the bottom also have the same color. That there's like some clipping through here. Because you don't see it, I'm not bothered by it, but technically this is this is an error. I should adjust the high poly. That's fine. We'll make another one. We'll call this one bandages. Add a mask for color selection. And we'll grab all of the bandages. And slowly yet steadily we are pushing out like the base layer check And once that color is no longer visible, I'll be happy. A couple of things already. So these fur tufts, skin. Actually, I'm being a bit of a dum-dum because I should probably be doing these things on the group layers. What is wisdom? Because I don't believe I can copy effect, paste effect. Oh yeah, they added this. Okay, cool. So rather than it being done on diffuse layer, I'll be doing it here then? That doesn't work. Black mask. Why isn't this working? Why is it not? Because this is a group, and on a group you should be able to also apply masks. So if I go add a black mask, paint layer, what do they change? Okay, so pixel information, it is there. It's just not getting added. Is it? I'll have to look at that off stream. Just clear this mask, remove mask. Yeah, I'll have to look at that off stream because again, let me quickly check Steam because Substance Painter 2020 I've used 802 hours. Like I have been doing this for quite a while. I know my stuff. 2025 has a few quirks that are throwing me for a loop. So eyebrows, different colors, so I'm not going to put those. Set nails. So weird that these groups aren't doing that. I'll figure it out off stream. And then again, you can tell me that it's gonna work now. It is telling me that it's gonna work now. Why is that? Anyway. Yeah, because now it's on the group and whatever is going to be inside that group is going to get added. So again, I keep saying that like, oh, I'll do it off stream. I was like, no, I have to figure this out. So why is it working for this one but not this one? Wait, I'm stupid. Move mask. Yeah, because this one also had a mask. GG Canyon again. Copy effects, and we'll put it on the groups rather than the individual layers. These need to not have a mask. Remove mask, yes. mask. Paste. This man. Alright, cool. I think we're back in action. Else, this one. Let's see, what do we have remaining? Layers. No, these need to be. What else do we have? We have shoulder cloth. I'll track this one down so it's a little bit more close to the blue cloth. Spikes. What else do we have? Eyebrows. Drop this one down so it's close to the skin. A little bit of organization. This isn't necessary, but this is how I prefer to work. At least try to keep things organized. So how are we doing for time? 25 minutes remaining. Okay. Belt ornament. So what am I doing? I'm completely blanking on the color selections. Here's the fuse. Bandages. That's not correct. That one's far too shadowy. See, because this guy has nail polish. Both the claws and the feet. Let's see, belts. shadowy. Just like a mid-tone. Okay, slightly better, that's good. Eyebrows. I think that's the same color as his eye. Yep. Starting to get there. Mouth interior. We'll split this one later on if needed. So this is again, this is why I like having my UVs in such a way where I can also recognize them later on, because I know that all of the teeth are right here. So now I can just go like. If it sometimes happens that you have to do this, rather than doing color selection, you can also do manual mask. So add a black mask, add a paint, and then if we go here, we have something called polygon fill. Now if we go over it, we drag and drop, and we'll select everything that's in here. I believe we can also set it to mesh fill. Yep. And now we filled all of the teeth, which is it's a lot easier than having to choose every. What's the sound from my computer that gave me a slight heart attack? Yeah, sometimes it's faster to just do those type of drag and drop markers rather than ID color maps. Fine, we'll call these teeth. Hey Galen, welcome on in. I'm gonna give him his eyes back real quick. Just so it looks a little less foolish. Right. Teeth. Let's see, tongue. Nope. Probably should add a mask to it. Help. Color. Okay. Okay, as a tongue, teeth, gums. Also, this is me being meticulous on splitting everything up quite extensively. And I'm spending a lot of time on this. You do not have to do this. Again, this is my workflow. This is how I do things. You do not need to do them one. Don't feel the need to copy my workflows one to one. Like, see what works. What you can like learn from it, but don't feel the need to like set up all of these folders extensively since like, the very get-go. Polygon fill is weird. I've had it where the select spills into other UVs that I'm nowhere near. Just to know if it's because my UV map is bad or there's some setting causes the select geometry in 3D. It is a little bit quirky. So, also, hi, welcome on in, Brett the Wolf. Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't happen on these teeth, because I've had it happen as well, where things just... Substance has decided that, hi, this polygon on the opposite side of the model is now also going to be affected by it. I have come to accept that that's just a quirk of the program. I learned to live with it by just working around it. Indeed, if we were to, let's go back to the teeth. With this one, with the paint, let's see if we can trigger it, like purposely. Because, like, if we're doing it in this, okay. One little thingy I also learned. If you do it in this window, it gets, or rather, if you do it in 3D space, and you do it like a projection method like this, it gets stored differently than if you were to do a projection based from this viewport. Substance, I don't have proof, but I really do think Substance Painter stores that information in two different, what do we call it, ways of calculating it. So sometimes it's better to do your, like, dragging a rectangle in this viewport, in the 2D viewport, than in the 3D. But again, it's quirky, and I've learned to just start walking around all of the damn quirks that this program throws at us. Okay, but mouse comes. Glad to know. No, again, I keep using the word quirks in this software. It's because I'm being nice and polite. There are some ludicrous decisions in this piece of software, but I'm guessing it's also locked behind a massive amount of technical depth of, like, hi, this is how we decided to do, like, projection calculations in, like, 2015, and we're still paying technical debt for it, so we cannot change this without upheaving a massive branch. Yeah, so again, this is why I use both. Yeah, we go back to the teeth. I hope that you are aware that if you're using the fill tool, that you can set it to both, like, come on, pop up the official words. Yeah, so triangle fill, polygon fill, mesh fill can sometimes also really help, because then it looks at, like, topological continuity to make a selection. It's great software. Sometimes you have to fight the software. Yes, though. Name a software package where that is not the case. Because, man, every software has its quirks. So yeah, with the fill tool, there are different modes, and otherwise, if again you're new to the stream, you may be some professional who's been doing this for 20 years. Using an ID map to make color selection is also extremely nice for selections. Okay. Pants and belts. we'll do it around here. Patches. Left. Okay, this I do need to mend, because this does look to be some bleeding through. Again, I'll fix this off stream. Here, or rather rebake it. I could also just go into Clip Studio and paint out the pixel information, because that will probably be faster. Okay, so patches left, patches right. Views. Are these the same colors? I don't know. Now we have stitches. Oh. Okay, nearly there. It's unfortunate that this is in shadow, so I know that these colors are going to be off. Okay, so for example, this is the project reference. If we look at this image, I've been using this image to color pick from constantly because I can't see the colors properly. Now my issue is the leg that is in left is in shadow, so I know that that color information is being altered by shadow. However, the logical point of my brain says that the shredded part on the left should be the same color as the one on the right, because it's like the inside of the fabric that's being rolled over. So that's why I'm now going to combine them. So pants all over in shreds. I'm just going to make these the same color. That will be the first part of it. So do we? Yep. Okay. So again, this is why I have this eye burning color. I rotate around my model and I immediately see, oh yeah, this shouldn't be here. Like this is the placeholder color that we need to get rid of. Same in here. Like there's a little bit of jank going on in here. We got these buttons and we got the beans. On substance. I'll change my interface off stream. Let's see, pants, belts. To it. Look like them here. A little bit messy. I'll literally just call them beans. I don't know what else to... I know what else to call them, but I think beans is a funny name for it. Do we know what color these things are supposed to be? Probably the same as on the hands. Okay. This is probably where I realized that I forgot to bake the... Okay. So, whenever something like this happens, we now have to manually paint them in. We activate symmetry. Okay, and now we'll just have to manually paint them in. So finally, we're doing artistry stuff. We're poly painting. Now, can you imagine if I had to do this manual mass painting for the entire model? Like, we would still be on the shirt. That would be several hours worth, if not days worth, of just painting in selection sets. If you were on the fence of like, oh, should I go through the trouble of making an ID map? I hope this takes away some of those. Like having an... The second someone taught me how to bake ID maps, my workflow became way faster. Good. Can I make this more visible? Yeah. So I'm pressing X, and you can see here my brush is shooting from black to white. Again, white pixels, that gets added. So whatever color is in the base diffuse, I'm painting on the mask. That now gets added to the mask. If I paint over and it's too much, I hit X, it inverts, it goes to black. And with black pixels, we can mask things out again. This is one of the fundamental techniques. Those things got added. Cool. These belts here somewhere. There were the belts, yeah. As long as layers have descriptive names so you can find them again. Either yourself, a couple of months in the future, or if you're working in a team, to please name your layers in groups so that whoever is going to receive your file is not going to spend 5 hours trying to discover what layer does what. Again, if you want to work in the industry, be a team player. Make it as easy as possible for whoever is working on the model after you. Okay, let's see. These things have a color, just a regular. I'll go with this color. All right. Cool. So let me go to base color. Zoomed out, I can't see that eye burning color anymore. However, I do see that a lot of areas have like this 1 pixel width border. This is one of the things where I think, okay, this I must be doing something wrong, because this is an ID map. It should be pixel perfect, yet everywhere I have these pixels like offset by 1. I need to figure out why that keeps happening, but if I were to set this one to pure black, it becomes a whole lot less noticeable. So, this one not added? Okay, so this thing is getting in from... Oh, because this one's set to open. There we go. Alright, cool. So, also we're on the 3-hour mark. I want to do one little thingy. So yeah, that black pixel information, I'll try to find a way to get rid of that, and report back whenever I figure out why it's happening. Country Wolf, thank you very much for the follow. One thing that I like to do, just because I look at this and I don't quite see it. I feel like there should be more. So what I like to do at the beginning is do some fake lights. So do I set this up now? Yes, I want to see if I can set this up real quick. Okay. So this is going to be fake shadows. Base diffuse. For the fake shadows, we are going to add a generator, and that generator is going to be ambient occlusion. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. Cool. I'm going to set this one... For starters, I'm going to set this one to black. Now, a piece of advice that someone once gave me is that please do not use black as a shadow color, because all it does is desaturate things and make them look muddy. So, first off, we're going to set this from normal to multiply. Aren't you? Oh, wait, this should... because we have to do it with the group. Is that it? No way, I'm not going to do this with folders, I'm going to do this with regular fillers. So, fake shadows. Because again, Substance Painter is a little bit quirky when it comes to... Is it in a group or is it not in a group? But are you keep on popping on my recommended, so you must be someone good to follow. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I'll call myself, I'm a professional 3D character artist. I've been working on this Hyena Bard for the last... How long have we been kicking? 8 months. And yeah, every week on Wednesday for 3 hours-ish, we work on this project. And I showcase people how to do 3D. Okay. Yeah, welcome on in. I hope you enjoy your stay. If you have any 3D questions, feel free to ask them. Good. Properties. Contrast a bit, just so we get a little bit of depth. And it immediately helps my eye go over, okay, Now we're getting somewhere. And here, just like Photoshop, layers can be have their opacity adjusted. So again, black, not a great color for shadows because it just desaturates things. If we go to like a more bluish one. And then the other thing I like to do is add a fake light. This one. Fake light, add a mask, the generator. Let's see. So this is where that position map is going to come in useful. Because all of these generators are looking at the utility maps that we baked earlier today. One of these is light. So with these angles, we can go left and right because we are looking at... We're looking at the position map, which... There's a gradient that goes from top to bottom, left to right, back and front. All of that is 0 to 255 pixel information. With that, we can do things such as tell it to mask out directions. I set this one to 90, that is perfectly up front. This one to be a little bit more up top, so let's do 70. Do something with my canine partner. I would work on work relief because of a dangerous dispatch call I had last time. You don't have to get into that. But yeah, you can absolutely hang out here. Just enjoy, try to relax a little bit. Base color, and rather than be set to normal, we set this to something like soft light. We also have to increase our intensity a little bit. And that's when things start to come alive. Now currently this is some really soft light, so what we can do is, if I were to alt click on the mask, here we can have the highlight level, which is basically like a clamp. Glossiness, push it down. This is where you can get some really cartoony type of lights. Though, do be careful with them because this light is being baked from one angle, and when the character starts to move, that can very quickly... They can begin to break. Just have some extra lights such as this. To me, really helps give a lot of depth to the character. Cool. So that is one texture set put in. Now we're gonna have to do the same for the accessories and the guitar that's hanging up top. And again, all of these layers are non-destructive. I can go into any mask and expand or adjust it. Any color can be done differently, so I will be talking to a couple of friends, and if one of them says, hey, your skin color is way too like pale, I need you to saturate a lot more. Cool. We can make it whatever color that we want. So for that I'm extremely grateful in Substance Painter. Yeah, cool. So I'm looking at the clock. This is watching someone else. So every time that person asked me something, I replied to them. They yelled at me because I wasn't about. So you just went to my stream. All right. Well, welcome on in. I was a little bit taken aback when I read that a streamer begins to shout at viewers. Like, the whole reason why we stream is because we also kind of want people to look at our stuff. But yeah. So, I got some homework. I need to figure out where these ID maps aren't pixel perfect. Maybe I do soften them by like 1 pixel. Because again, in areas such as this, they are very noticeable. I absolutely do not want that. So for next stream, it's gonna be full-blown texturing. So I hope everyone looks forward to that, because we just went through a desert of dry material that is all technical stuff. Now we are back at the artistic phase of the project. So I hope people learned a thing or two about baking, high poly to low poly, and which utility maps to set up. Stream to enjoy interacting. Yeah. Train of thought. Yeah, we learned more about baking, we learned about utility maps, we set everything up in Substance Painter. We immediately discovered that it looks at the bounding box of your model rather than the pivot points. And we are slowly setting up all of our folders. And later on, all of this is going to get... again, just like doing our basic setup in ZBrush, we want our fundamental shapes first. We want our basic colors first. After that, we are going to go over each material individually and try to push it as best as we can, and incrementally push this character to the finish line. That will be for next week and all the coming weeks after that, because for now we're on the 3-hour mark. I'm going to look for a raid target, and then we can go say hi to them. Let's see, who of my friends is working? Or rather is live. That is interesting. None of the regulars are online, so I guess we'll go say hi to... Who can we go say hi to? Let me check this streamer real quick. Okay. I see a target. Their name is Cass. Their Twitch name is Astrophagic. We're gonna go say hi to them. They're drawing a dragon. Monster Hunter Dragon. Cool. Let's see. Yes. Nope. OBS, please don't crash. Okay, note to self. There's not like having this many programs open at the same time. Oh, how can I fix this? Come on. Oh yeah, my Windows is freaking out. Okay, are we back? Okay, so yeah, that was an autosave of Marmoset. I'm not touching that again. But yeah, I have 5 software packages open at once. I should not do this. Come on, let me crawl to the finish line, let me rate this person, and then we can all go home. Alright, cool. If you have my emotes, as always, Cozy Vibes raid. Everyone, thank you very much. Wait, this channel has a follower subscriber only chat. Doesn't matter. I want to raid into this person. If you'd like to see more of me outside of streams, I have a Blue Sky channel. If my computer lets me link it. Yeah, you can see more of me outside of stream on this channel. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope all of you learned a little bit more about 3D, and I will see all of you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.